looks like you're a man of steel working on one of those machines.
And we are live.
Thank you very much. We'll call the meeting of the Properties, Environment, and Economic Development Committee together. Roll call, please.
Mr. McCormick?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here.
Mr. Erickson?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here. For the record, Mr. Beggs has been excused by the chair.
Thank you, sir. Seeking approval of the minutes of May 22nd, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second. Motion by McCormick, seconded by Hardy. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Would there be any changes to today's agenda? Would there be any changes to the agenda this morning? Hearing none, I'll seek approval of the agenda as written.
So moved, Walker.
Support.
Moved by Walker, supported by McCormick. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Here, just a little bit of public comment. Mr. McCormick, the transfer station.
Mattress fees discussion, I think that's coming up in our board meeting. So last meeting, we talked about increasing the fee and limiting the quantity. I would suggest we do $30 on the mattress fee and $4 on the quantity. So that's up for discussion among board members. We need to figure that out.
Mr. Walker?
Mr. McCormick, along with that, when we get done with this, can we have a discussion about the tonnage fee?
We need to do that also. Yes.
Can we do that? So
Please do, yes.
Yeah, because
It's all
you know,
interrelated.
we've got the scale,
Yep.
running now. So when we get ready to actually start charging, we have a fee on that.
Yes.
But I think that may I, Mr. Erickson?
Yes, sir.
I think that the mattress fee at $30 is reasonable. I said the last meeting that there were $35 right at the landfill transfer station that I was up in the UP, because I asked them about it. And I think that the disposal cost of them is what, $32?
Right.
$35.
What I understand is the operator sees those dumped into the landfill. We go to Muskegon. American hauls our trash to Muskegon. The operator calls down and gives the office the quantity of mattresses that we dumped out of our dumpster. And they put on American Classics bill $20 a piece. So at $20, we're not collecting anything for the freight to get them to Muskegon.
I don't think that is unreasonable for my personal. I think the more important thing is that we are going to put a limit on it. And for me, the limit addresses whether we have commercial people bringing them to dispose of them. When you buy a mattress, they're gonna charge it extra for that mattress to cover the disposal. That's just the way it's done. But then we have, if we're rehabbing different residential facilities, they can come in by the trailer load at a time. And realistically, they should be deferred right to Muskegon.
If it's a large quantity, they should just haul it right to the landfill instead of going through transfer.
And I'm not saying that the people that have, the facilities for housing and that, need to be able to do it. There is a place they can get rid of it. they can take it to Muskegon and get rid of it. And I don't think it's become burdensome on the taxpayers to have to dispose of them. And they need to build that right into their business, that they go right to Muskegon and get rid of them. And if we're charging, $30 for them to cover our freight, and they're charging $20 on Muskegon, if they're aware of that, they will just drive to Muskegon.
Yeah, I would think so.
So I don't think either one of those, are a far reach. Not for me, myself, it's not a far reach.
So that's part of our discussion. I mean, if you guys think we should change either one of those numbers, then we need to present that, but otherwise, it's a starting point. Maybe we go down the road and we adjust it again, but we need to change it, so.
And I also think that the board should come up with a, effective date for that it be placed in the papers for
Okay,
notification, and that we also, maybe give some flyers at the transfer station stating that these changes are taking effect on this date.
so could we make that notice, if we're gonna do a public notice, could we put that ton rate that we're talking? And the fact, I don't know how you're gonna word it, you're gonna make it sound good, that we're gonna start with the interim basis of using the scale. And then the other thing we might mention, I don't know if we're ready to mention that, but, that we're gonna have a card reader available for credit card use.
My concern over having the public notice and waiting too long after the public notice on the mattresses, every barn and every storage building and every place in Oceana County is gonna get emptied out from the time we start the public notice till the time the restrictions take place.
We'll have a little bit of that, yeah.
So make it within,
Well, if you
A
can,
week or two, or-
if you can get the notices in the paper for next week, I think
is it possible?
if we can get them for next week, we'll try to do it. You wanna do it at that next Saturday that they're open, or do you wanna wait until the following week?
I think I'd do it the next Saturday. There's no stipulation on how far advanced.
Immediately.
Effective immediately.
I wouldn't have a problem with effective immediately.
That's fine.
And when we were talking, this is gonna be an educational month that we'll be working with these people, because the route in will be different, the traffic pattern will be different, there'll be no more liquids, there'll be, restriction on mattress numbers, there'll be tonnage fees. So we talked about perhaps 3 or 4 articles in the paper that explained how this process is going while it's shut down, while, the place isn't functioning, so that people will understand next time they come, if they've got a pickup truck, they're gonna be, paying by the weight in the back and all the changes. But if we can get the liquids gone and the batteries cleaned up,
I have an update on all of those too.
After we talk about, tonnage, I have something I wanna say in relationship to that.
well, and I was thinking on top of what Joel had mentioned, with a limit of 3 mattresses at $30 each, maybe, a guy loads up 4 or 5 and, he's cleaning out his housing or their cottage on Lake Michigan or whatever they're doing. Maybe the 4th and 5th or 6th mattresses are $35 a piece. If a guy gets there and you tell him, I'm only taking 3 of those 4 mattresses, he's gonna stand there and go, holy smokes.
Well, Paul, maybe you have a good point. Limited to 4 mattresses, any additional mattresses will cost $40 a piece.
And then you're not gonna inconvenience them, because you know how those dumpsters out at Cedar Point and north of Silver Lake are on Monday morning. they're all overflowing with all the weekend stuff that people don't wanna haul to the transfer station.
No, I think that's a good idea.
Limit on to
You
the,
wanna set a top limit though?
if they're paying $40 a piece,
At $40 a piece, they can keep bringing.
It just seems like it would be helpful, and
I
I know.
don't think they would do that.
I know
you know,
one of our growers.
I think if they look at half the price to go to Muskegon, they're gonna drive to
I
Muskegon.
would think so.
How close, if I may, how close is the credit card setup?
That's what I was just telling him that I was gonna give you an update on that, on top of the oil. First of all, we found out that yes, we do have the ability to get Great Lakes, or TrueStream out there. So we have to complete the paperwork for that. There has to be, on the bottom, they're requiring us to put a site plan on there, just a drawing, telling us how they want it.
Sure,
How
where
we
the
want it.
cable run.
Mhm.
So, I need to get with someone to get that drawn out,
I can do
preferably
that for you.
today, so that we can get that, submitted. So
I know
once,
what they're looking for. It's easy.
okay, so once we have that submitted, Great Lakes, or the TrueStream can be installed, then we can, work with the credit card company here to, get that put in, so,
In the meantime, can we use Starlink or anything else?
Let's see what the response time is, how
Yeah, I
long
can
it'll
find
take
out.
them. Because once we turn in the application, they'll give us an estimate on installing, and if it's too far out, maybe
Yeah.
we do an
look at
alternate.
that.
There you go.
And then with regards to the oil, Brian has completed the count. All the information has been provided to, the vendor. We were in touch with them yesterday, Jana was, and, they are working he was out of the office for a little bit, sick, and then there was a funeral, so he's working on getting those containers out there so that they can get that oil cleaned up, so. That is moving forward.
It might be a good time to mention what I found out at the Health Department meeting last Monday. Jim Melky, some of us know Jim from Newaygo County. He's been a commissioner over there for several years. And Jim says Newaygo County has, I believe he said, 4 transfer stations and that they operate. And he said they just got notification from Eagle that Eagle has promulgated new rules for transfer station, that there is going to be a fee every year on inspection fee for transfer stations, and I think he said it was $700 a location. But their reason for that fee is because they don't have the manpower to do it now, and that they are going to clamp down on any violations at transfer stations. So, the oil and all of these things, we all know that we need to get that taken care of. Let's make sure we get that taken care of before,
Goes into effect.
well, they're doing it because some of that oil is not in, the designated area for storage of it. And I think Mr. McCormick, brought that up to start off with, that need to be taken care of.
That would be great. That'll give the place a good feeling.
How about tonnage?
$75 a ton.
Did you see how much it cost up where I took my stuff?
Was it 200?
$200 a ton.
Yes.
And they are at, the landfill is right behind the dumpsters. They grab them with a small hauler and they take it up and dump them, the landfill right up there. I'm not saying we need, and that's a waste management, so.
No, I'm just throwing that number out there. I mean, whatever you guys think.
I think Jake came up with the number in the last thing of $85 a ton.
Well, we probably should use that. If that's what his suggestion is, we probably should use that.
How many yards is a ton of shingles? Well,
That's a good question.
well, no, that's our biggest problem.
Yeah.
That's our biggest.
Yeah, that's a concentrated load.
A bundle of shingle is what, 60 pounds?
80 pounds for a third.
Well, they're what, 235,
Well, it,
3?
it,
Yeah, they're about 80 pounds.
about 80 pounds.
But I don't know, what's the cubic feet of a bundle?
3 to a
Well,
square.
there's 72 bundles on a skid. And that's pretty close to a yard the size of a skid, so 72,
3 by 3 by 3
Yeah.
would be a cubic yard.
Yeah.
okay.
And
May I?
So it's
Yeah.
probably a little more than.
A ton of asphalt shingles typically occupies about 6.5 to 7.5 cubic yards.
Okay, thank you.
So what are you saying, three square, did you say a square?
So,
No, a ton of shingles
Oh, a ton of shingles,
is 6.5 to 7.5 yards.
yeah.
no. No, 6 yards, 8-yard dump truck.
so that would cover us, if you think, you know, if they're coming in with,
That big
five,
trailer we saw.
five yards is gonna be $400 and some, and that's 5
These-
square yards.
These guys are.
But we're paying Classic, you know, we get a freight charge and then we get charged per ton at plant.
Anyways.
So if we weigh the shingles across the scale, then we should
Be
be,
done with that.
it shouldn't really matter what the cubic yards are because we've got the weight covered, I think.
Joel, do you know what we're paying per ton right now on top of the transfer?
It, I wanna say Muskegon was 68.
So the transfer, so maybe,
So if he's saying 85, then that's 23 is the freight.
I think that's fair. But it can always fall.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So,
Right, that's, I'm quite sure once we adjust the prices, the volume is gonna drop right off. Cause that guy bringing that load from Kalamazoo, he's gonna say, forget that.
Well,
That guy coming from White Cloud, I might as well just go to Muskegon.
And that trailer that we saw out there is probably gonna tack it on the bill when he's
Yeah,
finished the house up.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And it's, you know, it's a user fee, I mean, it's just the way it's gotta be.
I think that's a fair price. 85.
Cause it's,
Well,
the
if we-
game's changed with these dump trailers, you know, in the old days, if you had to shovel.
Everybody's
truck
pulling
out,
one of those things.
Now they just, you know, 12,000
Yeah.
pounds of shingles are in a dumpster.
Yeah,
It's a bunch.
the Waymaster could have a heyday.
Field day with that stuff.
yeah, if he pulled over those pickups. Yeah,
Yeah.
He could write tickets right now.
To start off with, those pickups probably aren't supposed to be moving that much weight.
no, exactly. They're not plated for it.
No, not at all.
Very good, so, where do we have with the cost per ton then?
We're gonna do 85.
85. And also the, 30 for up to 4 mattresses, 40 for more.
So,
That's a little new wrinkle, the over 4 is $40.
what's that? Anything over 4 is $40, will be $40.
And we need to,
You can make that
we-
sound right in the ad.
yeah, and we need to make sure that, Brian and Mike and who's ever taking the money up there understands why that is that. You know, that Ford goes up to $40 because and they can tell the people, you know, you can probably go to Muskegon yourself cheaper than,
Yeah,
than coming
that'd
in,
be-
and tell them that,
Exactly.
you know, because we can't keep supplementing. You know, we can't keep supplementing, so.
So,
Mr. Erickson, the sheriff had a question.
I wonder when you're talking about mattresses, how does a box spring play into that?
Same thing, same price.
Because of the volume.
Yeah, I get it.
The thing that kills us is the volume on it.
So my question is, you said you wanted it to be effective immediately. If we get it in the paper, can we start doing all that on the 5th?
I don't know,
Which would
what,
be next Saturday.
would you just go by the day that it's published, the newspaper is printed, or?
This is a public meeting, right?
Or this is a public meeting, we can say it's now.
We need to wait to make sure we get it in the publications. And the administrator the office can make the decision when we start charging. You know, after they know they've been publicized,
I guess,
then we do it.
yeah, maybe once
What
you see it in print, in the paper, then it's effective.
Okay. So, because we'll be able to get it into the Echo right away. However, the other paper usually takes me a good couple weeks because they require it ahead of time.
So when's the published date for
that's-
the Echo? Or when does that hit the?
We're going to
That's
to
not
bed
our
early
problem.
next
That's
week
not our
because
problem if we
the
get it into
40th is
one.
a Friday, so the paper will be out Saturday. You know, because of the mail. Yeah,
So you're seeing Saturday, day after tomorrow?
Saturday the 5th, if we put this together.
What is the next day we're open? We're open on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays?
Yes.
So the following Tuesday, let's do it that
That
following
would be
Tuesday.
July.
Let's make it simple.
The 8th?
The 8th, yeah.
Tuesday, the 8th.
Yep.
Okay.
And we had trouble last week with the holiday in there, early paper and the holiday, but a lot of the paper sat on the dock because of the Amazon deliveries. The Amazon deliveries on Saturday morning at the post offices are unbelievably enormous. And by the time that the carriers got the Amazon done, they weren't really ready to be doing newspapers either. It was amazing to see what happens at the post office, Amazon.
Paul, you may have had a one-day holiday last week. I had a 4-day holiday last week.
Where'd you go?
Right in my neighborhood. It was a 4-day holiday.
Yeah. that's
With
good.
pretty lights.
So my next question with that, effective July 8th, is it, and you got the tonnage set, do you wanna start making it a requirement that trucks with trailers are going over the scales?
Yeah, my thought on that is, even if we don't have the credit card machine going and stuff, let them go over the scale so they see how much they weigh. And then
Yeah.
keep track for us on how much those are weighing. Even if we don't charge yet until we get the credit card machine in, you know, charge the way we used to charge, but then let everybody see what their weight is. They can weigh in and they can weigh out, and they'll have an idea when they come back in with that big load of shingles, this is what it's gonna cost you.
Okay, so, we can do that. My worry is that you've got them going up on the scale and then off, and then you've got them coming back on the scale to go out, so.
But it's only the trailers, I mean, there's, you know, that's not all of your
Right.
vehicles.
Okay,
Yeah.
So they can work that out. Somebody's gonna have to wait a minute.
okay. I'm worrying about it.
Well,
I
yeah,
should-
It really can.
Joel, that may give you enough time though. I don't know how quick they can do whether it's Starlink or.
Yep.
That may give you, to the 8th, you may be very close to having a credit card machine out there.
Yep. Do we have the equipment?
For the credit card machine, no,
Is that just on
because
hand? You can
the
just,
credit card company that Mary Lou put me in touch with was waiting to see what we were doing with the internet piece.
Oh, okay, that makes sense, I guess.
So we could still move that, I mean, to get the unit in, if you're gonna have internet service out there.
Yeah, we'll try and get that TrueStream stuff submitted today. Well, I can't do it today because I gotta have a check to go with it, but
I'll call the people and see what she says.
we can probably do a check
'Cause
tomorrow morning.
yeah, I'll meet with them there and show them what we're doing and try to get the ball rolling with it. Then you can do the application and send the money.
I was really gonna say, not everybody drives a Ford, they can figure out how to go.
This is a public meeting.
Oh, very good job.
Are we gonna do American Classic contract right now?
No, I just put that on there to talk about the, because initially they had said, separate from the contract piece, that they, if you recall, they wanted to place a staff person out there.
Yep.
And I put a number on it, not that you have to make a motion on it today, just to kind of talk about it, but, I believe from what I've heard from Jake, he's actually talking about placing himself out
He's
there
gonna do it himself,
a few days a
What's
week.
the rate?
$50 an hour.
Okay. I think we should do that.
He had talked about doing it, prior to, because we talked about shutting the transfer station down for a month. And he wanted to come in prior to that so that he could see the way things operate and stuff, and
I think we need to work around his schedule because he does wanna have a company or a couple companies to run.
Mhm.
And if he wants to come in and do it, I think it's good for all of us that we
Yeah.
enter into that agreement with him and let him come in
Yeah,
and do
I
it.
agree.
Because if we don't, we're gonna have things that are gonna sneak up onto us later.
Right.
It's gonna get us feedback and it's
Yep.
gonna be good for everybody.
Yep, I agree.
So is that something that we have to have a motion and approve that cost?
It's a fine, we can add it, we can work on the same motion on the.
Add it to
on the
what we
fees.
have.
So
Okay.
we'll work on that, I break the wording for the
Okay.
motion.
Okay. So this contract piece, are we gonna, you
Uh,
wanna do that at a different time?
I took mine that I had, I printed it off and I put notes on mine, several notes on it, and I gave it to Tracy.
Oh, okay,
And if anybody else does the same thing within the next few days, get it to Tracy and she can compile all of the concerns that we have.
okay.
You know, and
You
things that
can-
we don't like.
You can, take mine and then you can ask me what I wrote on there, you know, interpret it for
why do you
you.
think I'm not gonna be able to read it?
No.
Well,
Well, it's shorthand, so you
Well-
might not.
well, Joel, I had to explain what my hieroglyphics meant too. See, I'm the old guy here, I still write as hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, that works for me. Yep, you can have what I have.
You know, the wider the spectrum we get, that whoever looks at it, the better we are.
I do suggest, something, because we do have a lease in place for the property, and there is stuff in that contract that, that we agree to, that I think should be in connection with that.
Yep.
So that,
Agreed. One note I put on here for Tracy is, and, you have to word it correctly, but some kind of a blurb in there to reserve the right to review it in 3 months or 2 months, and if something's not going the way we want it to go, we're gonna make adjustments. But there's a lot of, you can read a lot of things into what they have in there, you know, between the lines, and, you know, maybe they're a problem, maybe they aren't. And it's kind of a new thing for both sides, so.
I had, in one area there, I marked on the one that I did, that's a question for legal, that's not a question for us.
Sure.
When we're talking about, injuries and indemnifying people and stuff like that, that's not questions for us, that needs to go through legal. So, but I would suggest we don't send it to legal until we have a draft of
Yeah.
what we're looking at, but,
Yeah.
you know, but I had several points on there that, you know, just, if I thought the one line or one paragraph, you know, was acceptable, I just put okay on the end of it. You know, and there's a lot of them that I put okay on, but the other ones I just, you know, put a comment, you know, wrote a comment in there.
Very good, would that be it? And you will work on that motion? That very lengthy
Sure.
motion, that very lengthy motion.
Well, I have two of them on there, I just don't know that we did anything with the other one yet.
Department head reports. There he is.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sheriff.
I think I'm the only department head here, I'll
Yeah.
go ahead. We've had a really busy couple of weeks, obviously with the summer season underway and the festival here, and jail did catch some extra business. We were up in the middle 50s, our population in the jail for a little while over the weekend. We're now in the upper 40s right now. I think we were 48 before I came over here, so the jail's in good shape as far as population. This Sunday, we had three different serious investigations, all with a death involved in the county here going on at once. Baby drowning, fatal accident, another death investigation. So we had a very, very, very busy Sunday along with the heat. So our road patrol guys have been very busy. We've taken in, our guys are taking methamphetamine every night this week. So there's a lot of that rolling around. We've been real busy. Marine Patrol, we've got our two seasonal guys out. They're hitting all the lakes on the weekends. We got two young guys helping with that, and Sergeant Phillips is doing a great job. We had Water Safety Day with, and Sergeant Phillips was there helping with that along with Craig. We gave away a lot of life vests, had a fantastic day over in Pentwater. It was interesting, that was the same day they were having the No Kings event, and we did get called down. Chief Hartram asked for some more uniformed assistance down there. He had around 400 people, but it was mostly calm and peaceful. We were asked to assist with Lake County. They were supposed to have an incident with No Kings again this last weekend. We were just kind of put on standby. We never went over there, but they did have a few visitors protesting about the prison being an ICE detention facility over there. But we went over there and did a pre-visit, but it never got out of control, so we never had to show up. We've got one vacancy on the road right now. We're working. We got a young man we'd like to hire. We're working through with M. Coles. M. Coles is being a little something to deal with on his licensing, but it seems to be progressing. So we're working on that, and the jail is full as far as corrections officers. Any questions? You have nothing, Mr. Walker?
I'm still trying to recuperate from not being able to sleep.
I bet you are. I bet you are. All right, I'll be here if you need me.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Any public comment?
On all of the pricing and the new forms that you're putting into place, as a former business owner, I would just encourage you to probably put it on your calendar to visit that pricing in 6 months or a year. People tend to set them and then never change them, and that might be something you want to look at is, January maybe our pricing needs to go up or down, so.
Well, and I totally agree with you,
Okay.
but hopefully 6 months from a year from now, we will have another company managing the transfer station,
Okay.
and they can come to us and say,
Well, we just kind of get lost in the minutia of it all, and then you look at it and you go, man, I only put that at $25, you know?
I can't get this out of my mind, how much money we supplemented that transfer station for last year. And knocked right on the door to $250,000. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Very good. Hearing no other public comment, we'll adjourn the meeting of Properties and Environment and Economic Development. Mr. Hardy.
We are good.
Moving on, I'd like to call over the Finance and Administration Committee. May we have a roll call?
Mr. McCormick?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here.
Mr. Erickson?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here, again, Mr. Beggs was excused by the chair.
I'd ask for approval of the meeting minutes from January 12th, 2025.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by McCormick, support by Erickson. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Are there any changes to the agenda? Changes to the agenda. Hearing none, I'll ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved, Walker.
Support by Walker, support by Erickson. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carried. Any public comment at this time for Finance and Administration Committee? Hearing none, I'll move on. Administrative Biard, jury board appointment, 2025-69.
This item was on the agenda for the last board meeting. The board asked for an opinion, and that had been provided to you. Therefore, I am asking for the board to take action on this item, please.
Okay. Any discussion? I think the legal.
I think we are fortunate to have people volunteer and donate their time to these.
Yeah.
And I want to thank the individual for doing that, and I totally support the appointment.
Yeah, and I was happy that the legals came back good. All right, moving on, Mr. Biard, discussion regarding voluntary benefits for Aflac.
So we discussed this at our last meeting, and there was discussion about reaching out to some people from Aflac to see if they had any response to what we're going through with this. Mr. Beggs had mentioned that he has a representative from Aflac. He reached out to her. He said, he informed us, unfortunately, she's not able to help us because this is not her jurisdiction. And that she was going to reach out to the person who is in our area. And when I reached out to Mr. Beggs about it, and he said, I'm really surprised that they didn't contact the county, and because we heard nothing. We had no response. So, and then
on top of that, I tried 3 times to get a hold of Pat Fuller and got no response. So,
From my personal, I think if that's Aflac's position, or if that's the way they're running, we should have another option for the employees.
agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
Well, it's too much, it's a lot of work for what we have right now, with the few that we have on it, and not to get any response
right.
with multiple requests or.
I learned a long time ago, if it's difficult to give somebody money for a service, it's more difficult to get money back when you need it.
Right.
And,
So it's time to
and
move on.
Jessica's been working on it, and she's had the same, so there's multiple
Yeah.
people trying to make contact with them, it's not working.
And the board chair asked that we reach out to the employees and let them know that this may be happening at the next board meeting, and let them know that they will be responsible for their payments to Aflac. They can continue the plans that they have, they would just be responsible for those payments.
I agree.
Cause there may be a new Aflac representative in our area someday soon that we all know,
Is,
and we'll be working hard to grow that business.
can we offer to? Is there any reason we can't offer to?
Carriers.
It's a supplemental, it's an insurance
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah, you
basically.
can.
So, you know, if
So, if you're going to keep the two, I would ask that we don't allow anybody to be added on until possibly another carrier. The problem is that we're having problems with the billings and
Right.
people talking to us about those billings and it being waylaid, and it's just,
Would it be better just to not offer the Aflac and let the employees
we,
go on their own?
why don't we put a moratorium on anybody else signing up for Aflac? And for the, you know, and if Aflac wants any other employee, they're gonna have to come and talk to this board and assure this board that they are going to take care of business in order to be allowed to do that.
Well, we used to do the same thing in my company, and we did not withhold that from the paychecks. The employees could sign up for it. They could fund it directly. I mean, we allowed Aflac to come in and make the presentations. But as far as trying to contact them to make sure the payments were applied and funds coming back, we didn't do that. So I'd be more in favor of just going, why don't we just turn it over to the employees, let them deal directly with Aflac?
And then how about the new one?
I wouldn't add another one, but the employees, I mean, how many do you have on the Aflac right now? 5?
no, I believe it was closer to 10, but yes, but yeah, we were asking to add another voluntary benefit, so that option is there, so that if somebody wants to sign up for it, but we have a representative that's actually working with us on that.
Mr. Hardy, would it be reasonable to have the administrator's office work on another one to come in and bring it back to us on how it's gonna work and make recommendations, how it's gonna work, whether we're gonna do, you know, allow a payroll deduction or whether we're gonna have them paid direct? Let's see how it works first.
Right, and I think that might work with both Aflac and the other one, is to move it off the payroll side of here and let them deal directly with it. And then you could still offer 2, but this is gonna be,
We have another company, it's Allstate. We did to check to see where the better rates were and that type of thing, and Allstate came
yeah,
back.
and if we can find out what the response is gonna be, that's the key issue. I mean, with all that we've been through and all the contacts we tried to make with Aflac, it's kind of pushing the string uphill and it doesn't wanna go. So,
I would be in favor of allowing us to move forward with it and the dynamics on how it's actually gonna work.
sure,
Come back
come
and
back and see
discuss.
what that does.
See what that is. Go ahead and work with them and bring it to them.
And if you also wanna add a moratorium at this point, because I'm more concerned about, you know, what's gonna happen with that. We can't get any response from Aflac, so.
We
don't care.
we actually have a rep for Allstate.
Yeah.
That will work with the employees. The problem is that, you know, when we have open enrollment for our insurance
Mhm.
and stuff, we like to have those reps come in and work with our employees during that time. Well, Aflac's not coming in. We actually have somebody with Allstate that would actually be here during our open enrollment time and allow the employees to,
But we're still stuck with the 10 that are on Aflac right now.
so if you decide to move forward with this other company and, not do anything with Aflac, the employees that are on it still have the ability to pay.
To stay with Aflac, yeah.
Yep,
I
they can
think
stay
that's
with
the
that
best.
if they want.
Yeah, I
and
do too. I
Deal
think
with
that's
them
the best.
directly.
Yes,
Mr. Hardy, I still think, your idea of just taking it off payroll eliminates a whole other process in our office. Whatever group we use. I mean, we can offer it to them, like you're doing,
Mhm.
but if they're gonna buy it, they can do their own, pay their own premium, instead of having to run payroll deduction that we have to keep track of.
And again, that's how we did it, but we didn't have a lot of people that signed up for it, you know, it was like maybe 3 or 4, and it was more of a, I won't say nuisance, but it was a lot of work
Mhm.
for very small portion of the employees.
I don't wanna throw cold water on this, but I need to ask another question, Mr. Hardy.
Sure.
Do we know if any members of the union are taking the Aflac option now?
I think there's at least one, right? Maybe 2, 3.
Yes, but the thing is, Bob, it's a voluntary benefit. It is not incorporated into our
I
benefit.
get it, but it's been a past precedent that we've done that in the past. And let's see where it goes.
It's not contractual at that point because it is voluntary.
Yeah, but
We can't do it automatically, they can decide.
Well, and the other thing is that I wanna point out, with Aflac, our, department is not able to do anything with Aflac for them. They can, the only thing we can do is pay it through payroll, that is it. If an employee has an issue with Aflac at all and they come to our office and say, I can't get anybody to answer me, Jessica has to tell them, or Jana has to tell them, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you because Aflac will not talk to me about your plan.
I think we need to move forward with it.
All right, any other discussion? Ms. Barrett, alternative appointment to the 911 board.
I was approached by the sheriff about, an alternate replacement for the, 911 board, due to the retirement of Chief Straight. And, they are asking that, Juan Salazar be appointed as the chief, be appointed as the alternate to the 911 board.
Sheriff, I understand that, all the chiefs in the county had at one of their meetings, they agreed that Chief Salazar would be the person they'd like to have, representing municipal agencies.
That's my understanding as well, and with that understanding, I did contact Chief Salazar, and he confirmed that and said that he would be interested in being the alternate. It's an easy one.
Look, sounds pretty easy to me.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Questions? Okay. Mr. Walker, Board of Commissioners discussion items, payment of claims and contraction negotiations.
The administrator should have sent out, a notice to you, legal opinion that, was sent to me on payment of claims. I think we need to have the administrator work on a policy on payment of claims. Simply saying that there is that one has a conflict of interest on it does not necessarily cover all the legal requirements. And if somebody does say there's a conflict of interest, they can still vote on it. But if you read the letter, if there is a conflict, if the chair determines there is a conflict, that claim has to be passed by a 3/4 majority, and a simple majority does not cover it. But I think just to clarify it and to keep everything, out in the open, I think we should put an addition to in our operationals or our policies for the board following the state law on payment of claims if there is a conflict of interest with the commissioner. You know, and I'm not asking that anybody do anything on that now. You know, the administrator, Tracy, I gave you a copy of that, forwarded that copy, or no, the attorney forwarded that to you and to me both.
Yep, and I believe I put it in the supplemental packet,
So-
or I had forwarded on to your
So, you know, if Tracy's putting a new policy together for that, if she has any questions, she can talk to I did mention to the attorney, I had to talk to him about several things. And I did mention to him how we do it now, a person will declare a conflict of interest and abstain from voting, and he said that really doesn't cover it. So, and Tracy needs to work with the attorney to get the wording down how we should handle it. It's just better for everybody that we have it in writing in black and white on how we go forward. The other thing is contract negotiations. We have a contract that's coming up at the end of the year. I would imagine we're gonna go into negotiations unless we get one like we had with the lieutenants, the command officers that made it very easy for negotiation. I don't think not gonna be that easy this time, Sheriff.
I don't foresee that.
Well, here's what we had, and I asked the attorney about this. We're in a kind of an unusual position when we have 5 commissioners. Because we've always had 3 board members negotiate contracts. If 3 board members negotiate contracts, they are public meetings, they have to be posted as a public meeting, and anybody from the public can sit in and listen to those negotiations. So the attorney says that elected board members, it is his very, very strong recommendation that we only have 2 board members negotiate any contracts. And when we get notification that we are going to be going into negotiations, we will have probably, you know, the chair normally appoints people to negotiate the contract. And we'll discuss that further when we get to that, but it's going to be a different ballgame. You know, the sheriff and the undersheriff have all sat in on the last several negotiations, and it's gonna be a different ballgame what we're gonna do with only 2, because there's not a very wide, when you're negotiating something as important as a contract, a labor contract, you don't have the wider the spectrum of views that you get on those negotiations, the better it is. And we're not gonna have that opportunity to do that anymore. At least not until 2031. So, but there's just a couple things that came up, you know, like I say, the attorney and I had to talk about several things that were going on. And I talked to him direct, and it was just because I knew the whole inner workings and stuff on those questions. So both of these things, the first one, I'm sure the administrator's office can come up with, you know, the right policy on how we do that. And then the other one, we won't take any action on that until after we get notification that we've got a bargain again.
And that was in the supplemental packet. So.
But that's all that I had on that, Mr. Hardy. Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
When things like this come up and I get in these conversations, it's important for me to let the other board members know what I know about them. So that's why I wanted to do that now.
Yep. Do you think they're gonna increase the number of board members?
2031.
10 years, yeah, 10 years.
We'll see. We have no control over that.
Hold your breath. SBR, the administrative review for selected claims of payment and the administrative report.
claims for payment have been provided to you. Is there anything in there that, you have any questions on?
Yes, there is. Thank you for putting the date on it,
Oh, good.
because now I look for the date and I don't go through the ones last meeting we had that we've already approved.
Perfect.
Miss Arlene caught that right away.
Pardon me?
Miss Arlene gets the minutes from Tracy, and she caught that right away. She goes, "Oh, there's not a date."
No, she hadn't gotten that far yet. They were working on getting the changes made, but she caught it. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I don't have anything else on the claims. Does anybody, are there any questions? I did want to, bring up one. I've been going through, because we're still keeping the, ARPA spreadsheet. All that's been moved over, we're still keeping track of those projects. There are a few outside entities that have projects open, and I'm gonna be reaching out to them to let them know this needs to be finished up. We need to get this completed.
In payment of claims, we had a claim here, for mechanical repairs at the jail, you know, from Boardwell Mechanical. Boardwell Mechanical as of last Monday, Joel.
I'm not sure when the effective date is.
But
They
they have-
told me a week ago Saturday that it happened, but I'm not sure. But I called their office yesterday and the girl still answered Boardwell.
Yeah.
But it's imminent.
They've been sold.
Yeah.
So I would
Sure.
assume as soon as they take over, then
What were the repairs at the jail Boardwell did? Sheriff, do you know?
I'm sorry,
repairs that Boardwell did at the jail.
I'm sure it was
Mechanical?
air conditioning units on the ground, stuff they've been working on. Okay, it's, again, those are some, they continue to tell us they're older units, are really surprised that they're continuing to, that they're still in service. So I know Boardwell was here for the air conditioning.
Well, we've replaced some of those units up there. And maybe in October, when we start talking budget, maybe you should get, you know, if have somebody get a price to replace, you know, start replacing them in a rolling, you know, so we get them replaced.
So to ease your mind on that, I know Under Sheriff had been speaking with the Boardwell representatives about these older units, and that, again, they were surprised that they were still in service, and he told them, hey, we know we got several different units up there, it's time to get them on cycle to get some.
Yeah.
And Boardwell had some ideas on some other alternatives.
Not only is it the repairs of them, the newer units are a lot more efficient to run
Efficiency,
too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a payback on them.
And to let you know that, you know, the minute those air conditioning units go out in the jail, we hear about it just like that, so, so we're on it right away too.
So, anything else on the payment claims? So back to the, spreadsheet that I've been keeping, there, like I said, there's, a few outside entities that we need to get those projects completed. I would really like to have those done by the end of 2025, so we're not dealing with them for the next budget year.
Well,
I did I was looking through the proposal that came from Judge Lambrex when he was here with regards to the courts. Because I wanted to see where that project was and where we were in that process. I got some answers back from Tanya about that, and I noticed in that proposal that the cubicles that had come to the board for the district court were actually in this plan, so the funds have already been allocated
Allocated.
for
Okay.
that department. So there's no need to follow through with that because they've been allocated already, but we are working through that process and trying to get that completed. Did anybody have any questions on that?
I would just like to say, when you send out a notice to the other entities that we are working with on the ARPA funds and that, let's not make that a discretionary thing after January first, that if the funds are not expended by January first, they'll be rolled back into the general fund and not available. Does anybody
Yeah, I
have a
think that's
problem
great.
with that?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, or somebody else will do it for us.
Yep.
I mean, that's what will happen. They'll call them back.
It looks to me like the board concurs with that.
Yeah,
So just
absolutely.
put on there that
Yeah.
they will be rolled back into the
Yeah.
general fund and not available.
Okay,
And actually, they should be committed. We should know if they're committed, you know, rather than get up to December and go, whatever happened.
Well-
We should know.
Well, you could put in there, and if you are not going forward with this project, please let us know as soon as possible.
There you
We'll
go.
find a place for the dollars unspent.
well, it looks
Gary's
as
not here right
though,
now.
it looks as though, the ones that I was looking at are partially spent, so they haven't quite finished the projects yet. So I'm just going to be reaching out to them
Yeah.
to let them
But I
know
think
this.
that's a great add to
Yes.
that, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I had a meeting with, the company that we do GIS with, because that will no longer be under, B&B. So we've had a little bit of, an issue with some maps and them not being able to provide some maps to one of our municipalities because of something to do with the software that they use, or I don't know, there's some issues there. So I'm digging into that more, trying to find out what that issue is and why they are not able to do that, but I think it might have something to do with the particular software that they're using.
I could understand if they're not on BSNA or if they're on QuickBooks or something, you know, because they're a small municipality. I could understand that it's probably difficult for that GIS system to communicate with them. That,
I think the issue is that the GIS company we have is not using ArcGIS, which is why they're not able to get that specific area. So, I'm just looking into some things and I'll bring that back to the board for discussion at one point. The last thing I have, the 2025 capital improvement plan, this is the last year for that.